Okay, so welcome. And I just want to say to the people that are here, congratulations, because you know what's important and that's why you're here. When I was having this meetup series and I would talk about hypnosis techniques or how to grow your business, because I've had this meetup now for a long time, for over 7 years, I would get, over 150 people buying tickets. So where we're left is at the less than 1% of people are actually interested in what really matters. And that's not going to deter me from talking about what I need to talk about. So I just wanted to say congratulations. For those of you that are here, that you're here for a reason. You're here because you know this is important, and I really want to acknowledge you for that. So well done you. Fantastic. All right, so what this meetup is about is, it's now called the Awakening Series. So 7 years ago it was called, or 8 years ago I think it was now, I used to do this meetup live every single month in Melbourne. It was called Hypnosis Business Success, and it was all about hypnotherapy techniques and growing your business, as that was my specialty. And then as I evolved and as I've awakened, I'm talking about the issues that under the umbrella of the awakening process. And today's is a really important one. It's about the ego. But before we get there, why am I doing this and why the Awakening Series? It's because my job is to inspire you to awaken to the truth as to who you really are, why you're really here, and to let go of everything that no longer matters and follow the path that does, the path that will give you happiness, contentment, peace. And every single month, we're going to be speaking about a different aspect of the awakening process. I'll let you guys know now as to what the topic is for next month, so you will know. So next month in April, the April meetup will all be about identities. Who the hell are we? What is spirit? What is soul? What is the higher self? What is the difference between all of them? Why do we need to let go of identities to evolve? And how do we do this? So we've just put that in the chat for you guys to know. So as you know, if you're watching a recording of this, you'll get a link. And the first 48 hours, it's 15 Australian dollars as opposed to 25 Australian dollars. So the first 48 hours, it's a $15 ticket, basically. So I really love to know from those of you that are here to put in the chat as to why you are here in this meetup, as opposed to why you're here at this earth at this time. Why are you here in the meetup? And for that person that's just come in, that's called iPhone, if you could rename yourself so I know who you are, that would be awesome. So why are you here? Put it in the chat. Why are you at this meetup? Why have you decided to attend? And it would be easier for me, guys, if you tune in. I know that sometimes you can't, but you do actually allow your camera to be on, because I find it just so much easier to give you the energy that I need to give you when I'm actually seeing you, as opposed to seeing a name. It's very, very difficult to give all of me to a name label. but it's much easier to look at you, to connect in with you. So Joy, a refresher. Okay. Why else are you here? I think Joy's talking about the fact that you attended my Drop the Ego series. And so you wanted a bit of a refresher. Okay. Connie, welcome Connie. Listened to my video and really aligned with it. I'd love to know, Connie, what you actually aligned with, what aspect, if you can also write that. And Tony, I've been very interested in actively pursuing the truth of who I am for several years. I've had 3 experiences of awakening, though only temporarily. This year, my focus is to prioritize awakening. Yeah, it's exactly what I've done, Tony. I've prioritized it. I live and breathe it. Live and breathe it every single day. And this is why I'm running this series. And I trust that the right people will want to hear more. Angie, following so many different mentors, I still don't 100% resonate with any of them. I've always gravitated to you. Oh, thank you. I find myself working with my own tools and doing my own thing. There's a lot of ego out there and I don't want to get caught up in it. Yeah. There's that a lot of the things like how much money, how many clients don't matter in the end. Yeah, they don't. And we're going to be talking about that. So once again, congratulations for being here. This is what really matters, guys. This is what really matters. This is it. This is where everybody else is consumed with the superficial aspect as to why we're here. You guys, for you to be here and take the time to come in, I just want to say, well done, because you're taking the path that most people don't take. So well done. Okay. So as I said, every single month, I'm going to be taking a different aspect of the awakening process and presenting that to you. This month, we're going to be talking about the sneaky ego, which is so very clever and keeps coming in wearing different masks. And, you know, it's just really funny to watch when that's all you're doing is watching the ego. And so what I'm going to be talking about in today's session is, and even Joy, it's going to be more than a refresher, because since the time I've done Drop the Ego, you know, I present things in a different way. So I'm going to be talking about what is ego, what it is. Then we're going to go through the 3 belief systems of ego. I'm not going to be, I specifically decided not to do a PowerPoint for this month, and that's the way that I want to do it from now on, because I really want to connect in with you guys. I don't want to just show you a slide and talk about it. I really want this to be interactive. I want you to know that there's no wrong and there's no right. Okay, so whatever question I ask you, it's your answer in that moment. And we all have a different level of consciousness on this journey. And that's the answer we have with the awareness that we have in that moment. So there's no right, there's no wrong. That is very 3D way of thinking. So please don't think that whatever you put in there, it may not be right. There is no such thing. So we're going to talk about the 3 false belief systems of ego. And then what I want you to take away from this session is how to respond to those 3 false beliefs of ego. So how does that sound? Does that sound valuable? Yay. Awesome. All right. So first of all, let's identify the ego. Let's agree on what the ego is. And I'd love to hear what your perspective is in terms of what is ego. So let me know in the chat, what is ego? The self. And can you give me a little bit more than the self? Because we can say the ego self, or we can say the higher self, which is a different self. So we're talking specifically about the the ego self. We're talking about the ego self. How would you identify ego? because the reason that I'm asking you these questions first is I want you to what is coming up for you, because then whatever we discuss becomes more meaningful. That voice in my head that is trying to make me look good and stopping me from looking bad based on the past. Yes, that is one answer. That is correct. Absolutely, Tony. Because the ego is all about separation and duality. So it's all about you are separate to everybody else. And let's see where you fit in that pecking order. Where do you fit? Let's make sure that you go as high as possible and people perceive you to be as high as possible in the hierarchy. So that is absolutely 100% correct, Tony. Joy, not the higher self, the talking voice in your head. Yes. And that's another aspect of ego, Joy, which is the talking voice, which is that what is it that is actually saying? What is that talking voice saying? And you're saying, not really coming from the heart, more for prosperous gain. Yes. So it's exactly that. It's all of those things. And I'm going to give you some more definitions as well. So not coming from the heart. When we come from the heart, there's a feeling there that's completely different to the voice in our head. Connie, is the part that acts on fear of judgment. Absolutely. It acts on fear and it acts on judgment. So all of those things are absolutely correct in terms of what ego is. But let me give you a more refined definition. And really, in terms of this definition, it's come to me over a period of time of really watching, of really seeing, of really noticing. And at the end of the day, when I first started this awakening process, I actually saw it as a identity, as in as something inside me, as an entity. That's what I was trying to say, as an entity. But it's not an entity. It's a mental program. It's a mental program that has evolved over time, that is in our head. So it's evolved over time for the purpose of survival. So that's why it does serve a very important purpose. Now, the thing is that the ego was created so that we could have physical protection, so that we could be safe. So that's the purpose that it serves. So that if we get really close to a cliff, I was hiking last week. I had an incredible hike, and we were rock scrambling up rocks. And I'm sure the ego was keeping me safe because it was telling me where to put my hand and where to put my foot. So we do need the ego to keep us physically safe. But what has happened over thousands and thousands and millions of years over time is that this mental program has grown so much bigger that it's responsible for way more than your physical safety. It now has put itself in charge of your mental and emotional safety as well. It wants to keep you mentally safe, and it wants to keep you emotionally safe. Pretty much like the way that I see it is like an overprotective parent that really wants the best for their child, but won't let them try new things because they might get hurt, won't let them do new things in case something happens to them. And that's the way that I see the ego. It doesn't want us to do anything that is scary, is fearful, where possibly we might be perceived to be less than by somebody else because we have to maintain our social status in this particular hierarchy. So really, it's the role that you are playing. And ego is a mechanism that keeps us rooted in this third density. Like I said, when I was hiking, it kept me rooted to the earth in order to have that earth experience. It's an instrument. And Joy said before, you can hear it, but you can't feel it. You cannot feel it. It produces emotions within you like fear, but it's the voice that tells you that something is scary, which then produces that emotion. And what it basically is rooted in is the mind. Now, it has a singular narrative, so it only really thinks a certain way. Can you tell me in the chat what that narrative would be? It has a singular narrative. It is not capable of having a multi-dimensional narrative. What narrative am I talking about? What's the narrative? Just one word. What's the narrative? Survival. Yeah. Now, the interesting thing is, because its purpose is survival, Tony, the narrative that it actually holds, yeah, Connie's saying playing small, but the narrative it holds is always negative. It cannot think in the positive, and this is why. The reason being is that if we have two people and they're both going to be in potential danger because something is about to happen to them. Maybe there's going to be a wild animal that's about to get closer to them. Now, the person that thinks in the positive may not be thinking or be prepared to have that freeze, flight, fight response. But the person who is aware of the danger will be prepared. And that's the way the ego thinks. The ego thinks that it must always be prepared. So that's why the ego thinks in the negative, because it must be prepared for danger. The person that's got iPhone on, I can't see you because it's dark. Can you is it Connie? I can't see.
No, it's Wendy.
Oh, Wendy, my love. I can't see you at all.
I'm sorry, I can't seem to get in for some reason, so I had to go on my phone, my computer. I don't know.
No worries. I'll just rename you.
Okay, sorry.
So I've just renamed you so that I know who you are. Perfect. I just like knowing who I'm talking to. That's the ego. The ego wants to know everything. Absolutely, it's the ego, because the soul would be like, oh, it doesn't matter. Whoever's here is here. So it has a singular narrative of negativity. So the ego cannot think in positive terms, and it's ridiculous to expect it to. It can only think in negative terms. It can only think something's going to go wrong. It can only be prepared for danger and for survival. The ego also thinks it knows better than anybody else. The ego would think, if I was thinking in an egoic way right now, I would say, Angie, I know what's better. I know what the best thing for you is. It just believes that it knows the best for everybody. Okay. And the ego also is very, very, very caught up in time. Time is very important. That there are things that we need to do during this time, and time measures everything. So it's very much caught up in time. Now, this is something that what I'm about to say is very important and very big. And yet I'm going to put it in a sentence about this other aspect of ego. It really is a big concept. So the strength of the ego that you are currently holding is indicative of how much work is yet to be done. So none of us here in this room, in this workshop, are Eckhart Tolle. Agree? So every single one of us has an ego mind that is still active to different levels. How active and how powerful and how in charge the ego is an indicator of how much more work you still need to do. Because that is such a big sentence, and a big concept. I'm going to ask whether anybody, just raise your hand, has any questions about that. And so no questions. So what are we saying how do we know how much work? Oh, Wendy, you've got a question? Sure.
I'm still digesting.
Okay. So Connie, you said, can you tell us more? Can you ask more? Can you unmute?
Sorry, I'm just for a walk with Lily. Well, it's a big sentence for me, and the same, I'm trying to digest it. What exactly, I don't know, I'm trying to understand the meaning. So the work to be done in our growth, or? Yes,
work to be done in your growth. Ultimately, we're all here for one reason, and that is to remember who we are. So 99% of the planet is in complete amnesia as to who they are.
Mm-hmm.
So we're all here. If we're here during this time on the planet, we're all here for one reason and one reason only, and that is to remember who we are as part of the great awakening process. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so when ego appears, and the more it appears, the more work we still have to do, because it means that ego is controlling our thoughts, our actions, is triggering off emotions. And that's how much work we have to do. So for example, I'll just mute you, Connie, if you don't mind. So for example, if you are someone that gets triggered a lot, like you get angry a lot, you see something and it triggers you, you're driving and then another driver triggers you, you're at the shops and this person triggers you, your partner triggers you, you've got a lot of work to do. That's an indicator, because who's getting triggered? It's not the soul. The soul doesn't get offended. It's the ego. It means there's a lot of work for you to do. And in the last meetup, we talked about turning triggers into opportunities, because there are golden moments of grasping those moments and knowing that, wow, okay, I've still got work to do. So whenever we get triggered, it's such a great, beautiful opportunity to do work on ourselves. Connie, did that give you the more information that you were asking?
Yes, perfect. Thank you.
Okay. So what are we up to? So that's the ego. All right. So now I'm going to tell you just a little bit about my story, which is the before, the during, and the after. And many of you would know that like we all go through different awakening, a process of many different layers of awakening. First we start off in victim consciousness. And in victim consciousness, everybody else is to blame for what's going on in our life. And then we realize, actually, it's not everybody else. We're empowered to change things, to create things, to do things. And it's at that point that many of us experienced from this group, say, hypnotherapy, and then we became therapists ourselves, because we want to help other victims get out of their victim mindset and become empowered, okay? So as we then become empowered, we then, so during this time from moving from victimhood to empowerment, we've had awakenings. There's something that's awakened us to that. For me, it was a marriage breakdown, it was depression, it was anxiety that really shook me to the core in terms of who is responsible here and what is my role here. But then as we keep in that empowerment stage, we realize that there's more to this than that. There's more to this than just being empowered to be the creator of your own life. We find that all of a sudden synchronicities are happening. Hey, we're not alone. There's something going on around us that is way, way more powerful than just little old me. And so then the table sort of flipped, because it's not just about you. And then who is making all these calls, and who is making all these decisions, and why do I want all those things? And am I actually enjoying my life? are trying to attain one outcome after the other. And so when I talk about my awakening in July 2021, what I'm talking about is moving out of empowerment to like an awakened being. I'm not talking about going from the victim consciousness to empowerment. So there's different levels up that, tree of life that we go up, which is all about our spiritual intelligence quotient. Okay. So that's what I'm actually referring to. So I'm referring to, and when you have an awakening, and Tony alluded to this, that he's had 3 awakenings, it doesn't mean that you've anchored it in. It doesn't mean that just because in 7th of July 2021 I had my first spiritual awakening doesn't mean, okay, I'm awakened. It doesn't work like that, because you still have the old inside you. It's just that now you can see it, and now you can see what's really going on, and now you've got to integrate it. So there's still work to be done, and we're still playing in the old and then the new, the old and the new. So before my awakening out of this ego-driven life, I was driven, I was busy, and the more busy, the more proud. I was goal-oriented. There was no end in sight. I was running non-stop events. I did not come up for a breather. And every day was a busy day. Yes, did I have a good time? Did I party? Yes, I did. But I was so intense. My energy was so intense because it was this race that I was running, and it was this goal that I had of financial freedom that I was running towards, but not enjoying the journey. And in my spiritual awakening, I came face to face with my ego, which really shocked me. It really blew me away. And since that time, I've been watching my ego 24/7. It's been on watch. I watch it come out. I watch what it does. I watch the different disguises it comes in. And I am very, 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 very aware of it. Now this is, and I just want you to know, I'm in no way insinuating that I am enlightened. I am on the path, just like we all are. We're all on the path. So I'm not insinuating that I have achieved any kind of enlightenment, because it's a daily mission, which is to watch the ego, to be guided by my higher self. And that is what happens all the time for me. So what is it like for me now? So where I'm at, I've never been happier. I've never been more at peace. I've got no events apart from these events. I've got no events. It's the first time in my life that I'm resting without feeling guilty. I am at peace, and I'm not concerned about the future. And that's not because my bank balance has a certain amount of money in it. It's just because I know, I trust, I understand how the universe is working for me, and that it's the universe that's doing the hustle and the grind as opposed to me. So during the spiritual awakening, when I saw my ego, a portal was opened into another realm. And when I saw it after my first experience, I thought that was it. I'm done. I've seen the ego. It's not coming back. That's it. It's gone. I'm not doing that game anymore. I'm not playing that anymore. I'm not playing in that energy. I'm done with the ego. I'm done. I was so convinced. What that is spiritual ego. So ego will grab onto any insight and aha moment that you've got and try and turn it around so that again, you are in a more favorable position. So if you see the end of, you know, I've got my plant medicine experiences all on YouTube, and it's really interesting to see the first one as opposed to the most recent one. The first one where everything was shown to me, at the end of it, I say, and if you have any questions, I feel like I know all the answers. And that is spiritual ego thinking it knows everything again. When in fact, that is not the case. That is not the case. We are learning every single day. So it comes back in various disguises, and the spiritual ego is very clever because all of a sudden you've got these insights about spirituality and how it works. And so the thought patterns are used in that way to get you to be convinced that it has you on a hook again. And so it will turn every single situation around to its benefit, every single situation. So it keeps coming back and in different disguises. It will grab onto anything that it can to make you think that you are separate to everybody else and somehow you are better or worse, but there is a hierarchy. Does that make sense? Because ego wants you to have a position. It sees people above you, it sees people below you, and it wants to keep protecting your position in the hierarchy. The hierarchy is very important to ego. Does anybody have any questions about that before I move on? That makes sense? Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to give you some real examples soon, because I know that some of this language can be a bit, like you can feel a bit disconnected unless you understand what I'm actually talking about. So I'm going to go through the 3 false belief systems of ego, because when it comes down to it, there are 3 beliefs that ego has that it hangs its hat on. And these 3 beliefs will keep you in suffering, in pain, and in unhappiness. And that's why I said at the beginning of this session, people are not interested in finding out about ego because they think that having more clients, chasing the dollar, chasing this, chasing that is what's going to give them happiness. We only need to look around us to know the superstars that have got everything they had: followers, fame, fortune, and how many of them did they really find true happiness with all of that? It's superficial. You can't find happiness with any of that. But this is the great paradox, which I will talk about in depth in another session, which is when you do let go, when you do act from the higher self, when you do embody the true essence of who you are, all of that will come to you. It will just come to you, because that's the beauty of the universe, and that's the way that it works. Abundance in all its true form will come to you. But when you make that the goal, when you make that the intention, then that's where it's all the efforting and hard work and, you know, comparisons and so on. So we're going to go to the very first belief of ego, the very first belief of ego. And the very first belief is that there is lack. And so I want each of you to go into the chat now and tell me what evidence you have that there is lack in your life, because the ego will point to lots of evidence that there is lack. Now, the lack might be in your finances, the lack might be in your relationships, the lack might be in the work that you're doing. The lack could be anywhere, but the ego believes that this is a part of the universe, that there is such a thing as lack. So I'll just let you all put something in the chat. Okay, some more. Waiting for some more comments. Okay, so let's go through them. Connie started by saying lack of time. Oh my God, Connie, that used to be mine. It's like there needs to be more of me. But the funny thing was, because I believed this to be true, I just kept growing my team and growing my team and growing my team. I still didn't have the time. But the funniest paradox is that time is an illusion. It actually doesn't exist. It's a man-made construct so that we can run our life. It does not exist. Lack of money, relationships, lack of rest. My mother is with me to ruin my business. I really do not believe this anymore. The fear that I don't have enough, that my money will run out if I stop working, lack of time, lack of play, downtime. Yeah. So all of that is run by the ego. The ego loves running these programs in your mind because it has then a good grip over you. It's holding you and it's in charge. Because when you're afraid of something and when you think you don't have something, you're going to listen to the ego. And that mental program called the ego just gets stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger. So I'll give you an example for me. Before, in terms of what I used to believe about lack, was that even though I would say that, you know, in terms of my beliefs around money and abundance, I had really good, strong beliefs about there being a lot of abundance. But I also believed that I didn't have what was called financial freedom and that I had to keep working hard to have this financial freedom. And the evidence that I would give myself would be, well, I had 2 divorces. And with these 2 divorces, quite a bit of money actually went out. So the first time it was halved, the second time it was halved. That, you know, puts me in lack. That means I have to keep working really, really, really hard to have this financial freedom. Now, the thing is, with the way that the universe works, is that anything that you believe to be true, the universe will support that belief and says, oh, okay, it's lack you're playing in. Here you go, more of it. Oh, it's lack you believe in. Here you go, more of it. So if the universe is giving us more of what we believe to be true, because that's the way that it works, that's the way that it absolutely works, what do we need to do so that we can turn that around, this lack story? What do we need to do? And I'm going to go through each one of your stories because this is really important. What do we need to do to turn the story around? So put in the chat, what do we need to do to change our belief? Tony's saying lack is intertwined with how he feels, needs to let go of the feeling of lack. It's the other way around, okay? So what you're thinking, Tony, is that all of a sudden your feeling is going to change. It's not the way it works. It doesn't work like that. Your feeling is not automatically by itself going to change. You actually have to take actions that prove otherwise. And with those actions, you're going to have to integrate the new feeling that comes in your body. So what do you need to do in order to turn around the lack story? What action do you need to take? So what happens with lack is I believe that I'm lacking. And so I'm like scared and I'm fearful of everything, and I'm holding on to what I've got. Yeah, you can be present, but what could you do that's specific to this situation of lack? Focus on abundance. How? What action do you need to take to focus on abundance? And Stacey said, find the evidence of the truth. How do you do that? What do you need to do? What action do you need to take? No, that proves more lack when you rob the bank. That actually says, I don't have enough, I need to rob a bank. That actually reinforces the lack and you will get more lack. Okay, gratitude. Yeah, but I'm going to tell you specifically what action you need to take. So when I was in a situation where I thought that I've got these huge mortgages now because I've had 2 divorces, I've had to pay out, 2 men twice in order to have what, therefore, compared to everybody else, I'm behind. What did I do when I spiritually awakened? Because I knew there was no lack. It was shown to me. I knew that it was an illusion. I knew that we're just playing this game. I did the opposite. I paid off my son's mortgage. I increased my debt. I actually increased my mortgage. I proved to the universe that I'm not scared that there's no lack, that there is lack. Of course, there's enough for everybody. Of course there is. And so what did I do? I went and increased my loan. He never asked for it. Paid off his mortgage because I knew that he was still playing in the matrix. He was still stuck in the fear of, I'm never going to pay this off. How am I going to pay this off? I'll pay it off for you. And I knew that I would be fine. I just knew. How did I know? I just knew. And then in the end, what actually ended up occurring was beyond my wildest dreams. So the only thing that you are lacking is what you don't give. So when you feel that you are lacking, you need to give. Now, that doesn't mean you go and pay off your son's mortgage, okay? Because I'm extreme. When I do things extremely. Joy's hilarious. Joy's looking after her mum and she said, does that mean she needs 2 mothers? Please say no. I'll come to your situation in a minute. So what you need to do is give whatever you can give. If you're walking past a homeless person, give. If you Google a charity, give. You have to give. You have enough to give. You do. Shout your friend lunch. Give. And then start feeling what that feels like. That's the feeling, Tony. That's the feeling. The feeling is, oh, God, here I am thinking I can't give. Of course I can give. So this ego mind will test you over and over and over again. I find it that it's no coincidence that I've moved to a part of Australia and I live near a street that has homeless people, and I love that. I love that because it tests me every single day until I've completely changed my thinking. At the beginning, it was give them some coins as I walk past, and then it was like, oh, I don't have any coins today. Oh, well. And then it was like, oh, I've just given them money yesterday. Do I have to give them money today? And it's like, hey, who the hell's talking here? Are you saying you can't afford to give money to these people that are on the street? Are you seriously saying that? You've got no frigging excuse. You go to the bank right now and you make sure that you carry a big wad of $5 notes that every time you pass a homeless person, you give every homeless person $5. And if you pass 10 on that day, you give 10 people. And if you see that person every day, you give it to them again, because it's just an ego story. And at the beginning, it was really, the ego was really strong. It was like, cross the road. Like, you gave that person money yesterday. This is our mirror. Those homeless people are there for a reason, to show our humanity within us. I used to have the excuse, but I don't carry a wallet anymore. I only carry my phone. My credit cards are on my phone. Go to the bank. Oh, I'm not carrying that bag. Okay, put those $5 in every bag. So no matter what bag you're carrying, you've always got lots of cash with you. You can always give that cash. They need it more than you do. They need it more than you do. And then you just feel so good, because you know that you are awakening your true spirit, and you're not listening to your small ego self that's telling you, but you really don't have enough. You can't be doing this every single day. Yes, you can. It'll come back to you. You can do it every single day. So let's go to everybody's story one by one. I really want to do this one by one, because it's really important with the 3 beliefs of ego, that we have a clear example of what action you can take. So Tony, I want you to unmute yourself, and I want you to tell me what action you can take where you start giving. And we're talking about money, because that's what you're talking about.
Yeah, for sure. Money, I can start giving. I went out for dinner last night with a friend that I met at a plant medicine ceremony, and he paid. Like, he just got up and he paid, and he didn't even think about it. He just come back and bought me dinner and a drink, and it just really made me feel light. And I thought, well, I can do that. I could do that. Well, that's not going to break me at all.
Yeah.
If I'm out for dinner, I could pay.
Yes. Exactly right. Exactly right. So I had somebody come to Glenelg from another country who I never met before. He was just somebody who was on my social media and really liked all my comments and stuff. And he said, "Oh, I'm in Adelaide. Do you want to catch up?" I went, "Yeah." And sure. And I don't know this person. And I was just like, I'll just pay for it. And you know, the prior me would be thinking about, but it's not fair. Like, why should I pay for it? But it's like, just pay for it. You've got abundance. You're abundant. Just pay for it. So Tony, are you saying to me, from what I hear you say, that you're going to take out somebody for lunch or dinner?
Yes.
Yeah. Next time you catch up for coffee, just go and pay for the coffee. You've got to, that feeling has got to be, you know, next time you're for dinner, pay for the dinner. Like, it's just like, it's got to be something that you readily do to, and at the beginning, what might happen is that you might get these feelings of, but I really can't. That's okay. Let that karma play out, because it is a karma. Let it play out. It's okay. Just watch it and go, it's fine. It's fine. You're thinking I don't have enough, but I actually do. I'll still be fine. I'm still going to survive. I'm going to be fine. So that's going to be something. And it's interesting that happened to you yesterday. And then today, there's no coincidences. We have this discussion. So that's something you can do. Next time you're out with a friend, you make the move, you pay for it. Okay. That's the only way to turn around the feeling of lack, is to give. It's the only way. How does that feel?
Yeah, good. Like, it's easy. Like, I know I've got enough money. Like, I'm very consciously aware that my feeling of lack has got nothing to do with the amount of money I've.
Yeah. So that's why your actions need to now be aligned with that. Your actions now need to align with that.
Yeah. Because I know that, you know, I've been on the dole, and I've been, you know, I've had enough money to live for 5 years. and the feeling of lack was never any different in
Mm-hmm.
that time.
Yeah.
So I'm very aware that it's not based in reality.
Good. So now you've got to take the action. Take
Mm.
the action. Give.
Yeah.
That's what you need to do. So Stacey, you're the next on my you said that it was the time thing for you.
Time and money. It's attached together because I've often in my life, most of my life, been self-employed and been on this spinning wheel of exhaustion. I must book in the clients, and that otherwise the money won't be there.
Mm-hmm.
And the money comes and goes really quickly. I just have, it's like a fear. So I don't give myself rest to the point where I burn out. And I keep kidding myself that I've gotten better at it, maybe a little bit, but no, it's still there. I'm exhausted. I'm looking at my face at how tired I am.
Yeah, yeah. So I can relate. I can relate to that story. And what do you think you need to do to slow down time? What do you think you need to do?
I do need to, the money thing is definitely attached to this. So I will give again. And
Mhm.
I go into waves of doing that because I think I'm not sensible with money. I need to be sensible. I need to hold it. No. Every time I didn't do that, things would flowed beautifully. So I'll do that first. But the big one is to rest and trust. I think that it all will work out.
Whenever
Yeah.
you think you don't have enough time, what do you need to do?
I need
You
a
need to
rest.
take the time.
And
You
what
need to
happened
just-
today? I've got the day off because my grandchild is now being induced. The mother's being induced next week, not today. So I marked out today, and I've been
Forced
given a
rest.
full
Forced
day
rest.
off.
Yes. So whenever you think you're too busy and you don't have enough time, the only way that time will slow down is when you take the time. So you need to take the time and actually just rest, do nothing.
It makes me frightened.
Yeah,
It's really
it did.
weird. It frightens me.
It did me too.
Yeah.
Me too. And it didn't happen easily. Not happen easily, I can tell you. But
Okay.
it's still a work in progress. That is still one of my hardest integration issues out of everything I have learned is the rest part. It's still the hardest one, but it's getting better and better and better and better. But it's actually locking into your calendar rest time.
Okay.
And rest time doesn't mean pay bills during that rest time, check in with everybody else during that rest time. Rest time means rest time.
It's me rest time. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. So Connie, you had the same sort of concern as Stacey about time.
Yeah.
And so in terms of being so busy, how would that look for you in terms of, well, you take the time and that's how you slow down time?
Well, I think one of the key things for me right now would be probably present with my daughters,
Mm-hmm.
because I feel like I always tell them I'm too busy for them.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got a 6-month-old baby, as you know, as well. So
yeah.
I think my 7-year-old is probably getting the least amount of my time at the moment.
Yeah. So maybe like a date night with her. Like,
Because otherwise I feel like when I play with her, I think about all the things I could be doing right now.
yes, like that's
It's horrible.
Just, you got to think about it this way, like, you know, like on your death, this is why I think about everything. It's all about on my deathbed. Like on my deathbed, you know, am I going to be concerned that I didn't get X, Y, Z done? Like that you didn't cook this meal, that you didn't do those dishes, that you didn't do those clothes, that you didn't do those tasks, that you didn't see that amount of clients, that you didn't see. Do you think anyone talks like that when they're about to pass, transition? Like I should have seen more clients. Damn. I should have earned more money. God, nobody has that thought on their deathbed. It's only the things that matter. Nobody cares how much money they've earned, how many clients they've seen. And, you know, especially in our hypnotherapy community, we've made it into such a status symbol. I used to carry it. You know, I used to talk about it. Like, I'm so busy today. My day's fully booked. Like, is that a medal that needs to be shown to everybody? No, that's a social construct that you're so busy because you've had a fully booked day. Is that something that we need? Only the ego is proud of things like that. Only the ego is proud of achievements. The soul is not concerned about achievements. And so what the soul cares about is connection. Exactly what you said. The only thing the soul's concerned about is how deep are my connections? How much can I love? And so, yes, you've got your answer. Your soul knew straight away what the answer was.
100%. And I think also that baby kind of was sent to me because I was losing myself a little bit in exactly what you were saying, in my success. You know, and then with the baby, I was forced to slow down.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that was a good awakening.
Yeah. It was a good awakening. And your ego mind, because I know, wanted you to work
100%.
And we were talking about you working with me in my clinic. So your ego mind, even though you had a baby at 6 weeks, was considering going into a whole new clinic and putting in some extra days. And then it was like you realized that it was too much. Yep. So Angie, tell me about your action that you need to take with your lack.
Well, Connie already said the key word, and that is be more present. Connecting more to those things that I feel like I'm not getting or doing for myself or growing.
Yeah. Whatever you lack, it's only because you're not giving it. Otherwise, you're not lacking it. There is no lack in the universe. It does not exist. You might say, oh, but that person's poor. But whatever that person wants, does it exist in the universe? Yes. Yes. Whatever your wildest dreams, does that thing exist in the universe? Yes. It's not lacking in the universe. It exists. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. A good one, Angie. Wendy, would you like to talk about what action you need to take with your lack?
I need to probably focus more. I've got an ADHD issue where I study. I love studying. I think I'm a professional studier instead of doing.
But it's only the ego that wants to do. So the soul doesn't want to do. The soul just wants to be. So what is it that you lack? What is it that you don't have?
Courage.
Again, the ego thinks you don't have courage.
I know. I have all the tools I possibly could ever have, but I still keep chasing another tool. And so that's ego.
That is totally ego. So
I want to be perfect, but there's no such thing as perfect.
Well, in actual fact, you already are. Like all of us are. We're perfect. We're all perfect. We're exactly the way we're supposed to be. We all have God's spark inside of us. So we are perfect exactly the way that we are. And so when you think about what you lack, what do you think you lack?
We don't really lack anything.
That's right.
I have all the money I need. I give to people on the street. I'm always paying someone at Aldi if they let me through. If they let me in front of them, I always buy one of the pieces of their grocery.
Good.
Yeah, I'm always doing that. Always paying for girlfriends' dinners and.
Yeah, so you don't lack. You don't have any lack.
No, okay. But I don't feel. So we have money, but I don't feel I've got money.
That's because the ego always wants more money. So the ego always wants more money.
Maybe because I can't see it. It's in a
bank.
Well,
even if you saw it, it still won't make any difference. Even if you saw a whole room full of it, you'd want a second room full of it.
Probably. That's just greedy.
Well, call it what you like. That's what ego does. Ego will always have another goal. Ego will never be satisfied with enough money. There will never be enough money. Ever. Ever. There will never be enough money.
And so, I'm quiet at the moment. I've never been this quiet.
And is that okay?
No, it's not. But we're talking about having a day off. I learned the new word. It's called rejuvenation day. When you have a day off, you're rejuvenating.
Perfect.
But I should look 12.
Perfect. So we'll talk about you with the second illusion of ego. But in terms of that, what I'm hearing is that you don't actually lack anything. No. It's just the ego mind that keeps wanting more and more and more and more.
Correct.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you,
Only because
Wendy.
I've been chasing that hamster wheel for a long time.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I'm still in it. And I
Mhm.
get that now.
It's
I
time
get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't need to be in the hamster wheel anymore.
No, you don't. That game is old. It's such an old game. It's such an old game. It really is. Awesome. Thanks, Wendy. Joy. Joy.
Hello.
Hello, my love. I missed you.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry I can't get on video.
That's
My
okay.
she's
Okay.
behind me.
Yeah. So with yourself, tell us about your lack.
Yes. The lack was I was the lack was not confident in myself, and in parentheses blaming my mother for that. I have
Mhm.
to care for her. I have to do, so my business was lacking. I couldn't launch or grow my business due to her. But the action I have taken is, even though my mother has not, the disease of dementia has not gone away, but on the other side, I look at her as a blessing because
Mhm.
she has given me the business that I am launching, and that I have decided that I have to give the message, I have to give this knowledge to the ones that are at home caregiving, because there is a way to cope. You don't have to be stuck. You don't have to be all of the things that you think you have to be. So
Yeah, I love that.
I've taken action.
Awesome. That's beautiful. And that, you touched a point, that, we, with the ego, because time is so important, it wants things now. So
Yes.
you know that you want your business, which is going to help people with dementia, but
Yeah.
you want it now. That's not the way the universe works. The universe is way wiser than you and will give it to you when it's time. You now need to experience what it's like to be a carer without thinking it's going to end anytime soon.
Exactly. And that was the most phenomenal thing, because being a dementia nurse for over 30 years and having all of the experience that I have, and caring for her from a distance, is nothing compared to having her in the house, and what it does to relationships, and what it does to mine and her relationship. So there's just this wealth of knowledge and wealth of experience that I am so grateful for. Today was not a good day, but I'm still grateful, because it grounds me and it reminds me that not every day is, she's not going to have a good day every day. So
Yeah. And with the ego, it's all about service to self.
correct.
But with the soul, it's about service to others. And like you said, to see that blessing, that you have this amazing opportunity to serve at the highest level, something which you will teach, but it's not your time to teach it right now, because
Right.
now you need to serve in a different
Exactly.
way. Now you need to serve in a different way. And it's about trusting that there is a universal plan for all of us, and the timing is not according to our schedule, because it's only ego that wants the schedule.
Right. That is so right.
I love it. I love all that. Thank you, Joy. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. So we're going to move to the second belief of ego, which is the belief of external fulfillment. The belief that you can only be fulfilled outside of yourself. As an example, I need X amount of followers in order for me to be happy. I need X amount of clients in order for me to be happy. I need this relationship in order for me to be happy. I need something else outside of me to be happy. So put in the chat, what does your ego say to you that you need outside of you to be happy? And the interesting thing about this is COVID really showed this to us, because it showed us what we were dependent on to be happy. Like the people that were obsessed with gym, I being one of them at the time, it was like I had to go, well, that's okay. It's okay if my body goes flabby, over this period of time. It's okay. But I was dependent on the gym. So this external attachment to something outside of you in order to be happy. Connie's saying it used to be clients and success. What is it now, Connie? Yeah, Stacey's money to be happy. So that goes back to I need this to be happy. Yeah, that's an interesting one, Connie, that you've put family. Like, what do you need from family in order to be happy? Connection and quality time. So that's your soul actually expressing that's what your soul wants, is connection and quality time. But that's something you've already got. You've already got that. You've already got that available to you. So Tony's saying guilt-free time off. Yeah, that this second belief of ego is more like an attainment of something. Like you need to attain something in order to be happy. You need to have that car. You need to have these followers. You need to have that bag. You need to have that house. You need to have that body. You need to have all these things in order to be happy. But what a few of you are actually bringing up are the things that the soul actually wants, which is rest, rejuvenation, connection. But what this second pillar of the ego is, it's something that it thinks it needs in order to be happy. But it's not going to give the ego the happiness it desires. It's going to give short-term temporary relief. It's not going to give long-term happiness. It can't. As an example, yesterday, I had a really intense day, which is really unusual for me these days, but yesterday was one of those days. And I had a packet of bullets, chocolate bullets are my favorite, and an Easter egg. And it did actually make me temporarily really happy. But how long is that going to last for? Is that going to give me fulfillment? No, this is about external fulfillment. Oh, yep, Connie's got onto one of it. You need to have that body weight after pregnancy. That's going to make me happy if I've got that body. And Joy's saying, I thought if I was a superior, then I would prove anyone could take care of their loved ones, no excuses. There are things I would like to buy and own a home, but I'm well aware that nothing outside of myself, including owning a home, will make me happy. Exactly. And Tony, that was one of my previous beliefs, because this place that I am in Adelaide, I love it so much. It's on the ocean. I don't own it. I rent it. That used to go against my biggest values. I was trained by my parents that you never, ever pay somebody else's mortgage, ever. My dad would be rolling in his grave if he knew that I was paying the rent that I pay. And I had to really go, it doesn't matter. This is what I want. And this is how I'm doing it. This is how it's working for me at this moment. I don't need to own it. That's just a social construct. It's okay to be paying somebody else's mortgage. It makes me happy. I used to have the body one all my life. I'm now so the opposite. It was exhausting. Yeah, it is really exhausting. So we can only ever be fulfilled from within. And even in relationships. So if you're thinking that your partner, one sentence that I can't stand when I see people write it is, oh, he completes me. It's like, oh my God, like that is low self-worth, that you need somebody else to complete you. Okay, there's an issue right there that you're looking for somebody to complete you. You're only going to find your soulmate when you feel completely complete and you know that, you know, you have an amazing life without anybody else, that you don't need somebody else. That's just added value that you get to spend together time with another amazing human being. But looking for somebody else to fill a gap within you just doesn't work. We all know that, right? So what happens when all these things get taken away? So say this person completes you and then this person leaves you. Where does that leave you? Depressed, unworthy. So we can only ever be fulfilled from within. And so when we think something fulfills us, what we need to do, what the action is to play that till the end and see what happens. Like yesterday, I know that me eating chocolate is an old story. I know that me eating chocolate is a story that I've had the whole of my life. But rather than judging it and saying I can't do it, I went like, no, today, bugger it, I'm eating chocolate. And let's just play that story out. Did that chocolate euphoria last until today? No, it doesn't have long-term gratification. It makes me want more. Makes me want more today. So play it out without judgment. That's the action. Whatever you think is going to give you external fulfillment, and it might even be an addiction. Play it out. You know, don't stop yourself. Have it. But be very observant of yourself. Watch yourself. Is this giving me what I think it's going to give me? And for all those superficial things, it won't. Some of you put real soul stuff in there. Yes, of course it will. Connection does. It will give you fulfillment. So anything that you think is going to satisfy you, play it out. Play that story all the way to the end. And then just see, has it given me what I want? Does that make sense, guys? Is there any questions about that? Any questions? Just raise your hand. Yes, Stacey.
I'd just like to confirm. So when you say play it out doing the opposite.
No,
How it goes.
play out doing what you want and see if it gives you, but just observe yourself like it's like you're in that movie. Just observe yourself. Yesterday, I knew I was playing out this story. I knew that I went and bought, you know, packet of bullets and an Easter egg, and I knew that I was playing out the story that this will make me happy, but it was just a story. And then what happened was I ruined my appetite and wasn't hungry for dinner, which I was really looking forward to. So
that's so powerful. Thank you. I understand.
Yeah, play it out.
Observing.
Just do it.
Yeah.
Do it without judgment. Just do it. Don't stop yourself from doing it. Just do it. Which is a different way of looking at things, right? Because even with addictions, play out the karma that you've got inside of you that needs to be released without judgment.
I feel like the whole thing is addictions for me anyway. Like I'm addicted to earning money, and then it's that cycle. I feel like I'm burning.
And then watch yourself. Okay, so now I've reached this. I've reached this amount of money. Has that made me happy?
I've never got money though, Elodie. This is the crazy cycle.
Because you keep wanting it. You're attached to it.
Is that it? Thank you. I'm going to really observe
wanting it. It's
now.
the attachment. I need something, and whatever you're attached to, that's a resistance because you're attached to it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Let me just remind you guys before I go on to the third thing of ego, third illusion, that let me just put in the chat the April meetup details, because it's at $15 now for 48 hours, where we're going to be talking about the fake you. Okay, so that's all under the awakening umbrella. Okay, so the third illusion of ego is that it's in control. And it's interesting because many hypnotherapists, me being one of them at the very beginning when I first started my journey back in 2010, my tagline was live strong. No, take control, live strong. And then it was well before my awakening that I didn't like that. I didn't like it. I thought the take control, it's like very, very forceful, like take control. So I changed my tagline. You can't take control. Didn't COVID prove that to us? There's no control. It's a very egotistical thing to think that we are in control of anything. Joy can tell you that. So Joy can tell you that, you know, she's looking after her elderly mother who's got dementia, and it's her soul's purpose at this point to look after her. She's not in control as to how long that happens for. We're deluded into thinking that we are in control. I'll give you an example, a personal example of mine that I recently let go of probably about a year ago, and it made all the difference in the world. So I tried to influence my son's activities. So my son being, you know, he's 29 now, but my judgment was that he was gaming too much. He had a fantastic job and all the rest of it, but it was like, he's not living life. He's not going out. He's stuck in his apartment. He used to tell me, Mum, I'm happy. So why couldn't I let go of that? Because my definition of happiness doesn't have to be his definition of happiness. What I thought would make him happy is not what made him happy. And I had to let that play out, just let it go, just completely drop it, drop that whole story that he needs to be doing something different. I am not in control of his choices. And so when I finally let go, completely respected his choices, really respected his choices, that if he wants to game all weekend, you know, after working a whole week, that's up to him. If he doesn't want to go out, that's up to him. It's his journey. Just trust the journey. Trust the journey. When I let go, all of a sudden he's got a girlfriend. And all of a sudden his whole life has changed. I really believe it was my grip on him and that cord that I had with him that kept him doing the same activity. As soon as I let it go, and it was like, it's his journey. Whatever his journey is, I'm not going to judge him. I'm going to love him unconditionally. His whole life changed. Because that mother-child relationship is very powerful. Very, very powerful. And I just let it go. Trying to think that I'm in control. Anything that you think you're in control of just keeps you in suffering. But when you surrender to the moment, that's when you don't have any suffering. So when we think we have control of everything, rather than just letting everything just play out and trusting and having faith, going with the flow. Every time there's suffering or pain, it's the ego that's running the show every single time. So what are you holding on control of? Put it in the chat. What are you holding control of? Where you think you have control, but you really don't. And guys, before we go through the answers of this, you know, we need to awaken the world. We need to awaken them out of the slumber of being driven by the ego mind into this senseless way of living where we just bring pain and suffering onto ourselves. So if you find this awakening series helpful, share it with somebody else. I really love it if you shared it with other people so that they could come along as well, because we've really got to get this thing done with awakening. There's so much more to share with you guys. I live and breathe this every day. This is what I'm obsessed with. So Stacey's so Angie first, my work. Yeah. And yes, Angie. So I used to be like that too, where I had to control every single aspect of my work. And then when things don't work out the way you want them to work out, what happens? You get stressed, you get frantic, you get frustrated. So if somebody in my team didn't do what they were supposed to do, it was just like, why can't anybody do anything right? And then there's this cycle of stress and drama and so on. Whereas like when you trust that everything is working out exactly the way that it needs to, there is no such thing as a coincidence, that everything is perfect, just let it go. Stacey's saying, my beautiful eldest son, I thought he had the same money problem as me. Yep, beautiful. Tony's like controlling the money. Yeah, so money is a consciousness, Tony. And trying to control money is meaning that you're keeping it restricted, because this is the thing. In our little ego brain, we think that there's this much money and only this much money is possible for us, when this much money is possible for us if we just trust it and let it go. But we can't see the whole picture because we only know this tiny aspect of our life. We don't know the whole picture. We don't know the universal plan. So just trusting and letting go and knowing that the more you give, the more you get, knowing that it's going to be replenished. I always have that image in my mind of that commercial with the Tim Tam commercial and the genie, where the Tim Tams go and then they'll get filled up again. The Tim Tams go and then they get filled up again. I always think of money that way. I always think that when I'm giving this amount of money, it's going to come back twice. It just will. It automatically does. It just replenishes by itself. Some other way. I don't have to think about how. So, and Tony's like controlling time as well. Yeah. As opposed to just being more fluid, more relaxed, more at ease, more at flow. Okay. So tell me, and Connie is plan out my day exactly. I used to do that too, Connie, and get frustrated when it didn't happen. Yep. And yeah, so your mission is to have a day where you just see what happens in that day. You're like a curious little girl where it's like, oh, I wonder what's going to happen today. I wonder how it's all going to work out. So just letting go, releasing the need to control. So those three things is what the ego hangs its hat on, which is lack. There is lack. Be careful. Don't spend your money. They're out to get you. Like you're wasting your mind, your money again. Be careful because there's lack. You're going to starve. You're going to lose your house. Number two is you've got to get that thing that everybody else has to make you happy. You've got to have that house. You've got to have that car. You've got to have that bag. You've got to have those shoes. You've got to have that body. You've got to look a certain way. You've all got to have fat lips. You've all got to have no wrinkles. You all got to have that tattoo. You all got to do that because that's the way, you're going to match up. Otherwise you don't. You've got to have that personality too. Make sure you have that personality because that personality will mean that people will like you. And number three is, and you better keep control of everything because things might go off the rails and then there's going to be real suffering. And all of that is the narrative of the ego. And so if I can say anything to you guys today, because I don't expect that one day you know about this and the next day suddenly, woohoo, see you later, ego. That's what I thought. It's more become the observer of the voice, that ego voice. Watch it. Don't judge it. It's okay. It's a program that's playing out. That's what's supposed to happen. This program is supposed to play out, but we need to start watching it and say, who is asking this question? Who's so worried about this at the moment? Who's keeping me small? What is that? What's the concern here? Because wherever there is suffering or pain, it's the ego that's running the show. You will not suffer when you are connected to your higher self. It cannot exist. There is no suffering with higher self. There's only suffering with ego. And so what I want you to do is start to become masters of the program. Start to watch the program. The Matrix was a genius series because it's absolutely true. That's the way that it friggin' works. It's an amazing series that was downloaded to those people that created those movies. So watch the program. Watch it. Know that it's the illusion. Remember what happened at the Matrix, which is as soon as Neo realized it was a program, he couldn't defeat him anymore. He was only defeated when he thought it was real. Once he realized it was just a program, he can't do anything. So you just watch it, because it's not going to disappear. I still have an ego, even though I watch it 24/7, but it plays out less and less and less. It does, but I do watch it. It still plays, but it plays less and less and less as time goes on. And therefore, I'm more and more and more in peace, more and more and more at ease, more and more in grace and flow, where things are working for me as opposed to me doing the work. So does anybody have any questions, any final questions before we finish for the day? You can just unmute and ask if there's any questions at all.
It's a very interesting way that you've explained it, the ego. You know, there's obviously different interpretations, but you've done a very, very masterful job. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. It's very important. It's very important. You know, we have to see the ego. It's time to say goodbye. It's time to say, don't run. You're not running the show anymore. I hear you. It's okay. I hear you, but I'm not listening to you anymore. You're not the boss.
Yeah, I just agree with that too. I wanted to say it's gone right deep inside my soul. Thank you so much. That was beautiful.
You're welcome. And please, you know, if you do know anybody, this needs to go out. Like, we need to tell people about this. Tony, you had something to say?
Yeah, it's provided a lot of clarity. The way you've explained it is very useful for moving forward. I just want to acknowledge, Helen, you look amazing. Like, I've never seen you look so good.
Oh,
in the years that I've known you. You just look very clear and fresh and alive.
Oh, thank you. I really, really appreciate that.
So my question, do you, like, as you've, you know, it's been July 7th, 2021, are you finding now, are you still getting activated, emotionally triggered?
It's a really good question. You know, I was considering this just this morning. Are there still triggers that are happening less and less and less frequently? Less and less and less frequently. And as soon as they happen, I notice that it's a trigger straight away. Like, straight away, I know it's a trigger, and straight away I go into, okay, what needs to work? What needs to come out now? What is it that's still in there that needs to come out? Because I thought that I had nothing else left. But so, yeah, that's so less and less frequently. And I do notice it straight away, and I just let it play out in whichever way it needs to play out. So yeah, it doesn't happen very frequently these days, but it does happen. You know, I don't know if ever there will be a time when there is no trigger. I don't know, but because every time I've thought that there are no more triggers and that I'm done with this release, there's another one that's going to come right in that moment. So I don't know if I'll be done, but it does. I no longer have the need for it to be done. Like, it's just fun. It's part of the human experience when I see myself react in a certain way, as opposed to, because I went through a process, Tony, where I was initially, when I saw myself triggered, when I know this stuff, I'd get annoyed with myself. Like, why did you react like that when you know this and you know this and you know this? And now it's more like, oh, that's funny. You're still reacting like that. Okay, that's all right. That's okay. That's fine. That's fine. So I have a completely different reaction. I don't judge myself anymore about having a natural reaction. I just find it funny more than anything.
Yeah. My wife Josephine watches these as well. She watched it last month, and she'll be watching the recording.
Oh, awesome.
She's very into it.
Awesome. Hey, Josephine, I hope you enjoy it. I hope you enjoy it. So everybody, thank you so much for this. Really, really, this is the stuff that I love so much. I can't tell you how much joy this gives me. And yeah, so please spread the word about this series, let people know. And yeah, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
It's been my honor. So big kisses.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thanks, Helen. Thank you, darling.
Bye. See you.
Bye.
See you all. Bye.